Max, let's kind of get into our first topic. It's Big 12 Media Days.
It is.
Big 12 Media
time of year.
Big 12 Media Days are going on at the Star in Frisco, just north of here.
At the Star.
The Star.
The Star.
And of course, it's for those who don't know, Big 12 Media Days is basically like supposed to be like a celebration of the Big 12 of your conference.
I'm not sure what
and
we're
it's
celebrating,
supposed to be
existing one
like
more year, I suppose.
like it's a one-stop shop for if you cover the Big 12, you can get a lot of people in one building.
Yeah.
So if you cover Iowa State, for example, Matt Campbell was just on TV. If you cover Iowa State, but you need to learn more about Kansas, you can go talk to David Beatty.
Right.
He's there. You can go talk to Dana Holgerson. You can go talk to Tom Herman. And it's an opportunity, and some of their players, it's an opportunity to be available to the media. It's a media event is what it is. And it starts off as I think I'm pretty sure every conference does it this way. That it starts off with the commissioner.
Yep.
That it's Greg Sankey, I believe, is the commissioner of the SEC.
Yep.
Like he starts talking about it. He starts off Media Days, kind of a state of the conference address, if you will. Well, Bob Bowlsby, the Big 12 commissioner, got up there and talked, and I think he first of all, he went up there and he did what he's supposed to do. Look, his job is in many respects to carry water for the Big 12.
Yep.
His job is to be their biggest cheerleader. And he did. He said something. He basically talked about how he doesn't think that it's fair that the Big 12 is dragged through the mud. I'll give you a quote. It gets a little tiresome because I know we play at a high level, and I know that top to bottom, we're the best in the country in terms of balance. And I know that the method by which we conduct our championships and conduct our regular season is the most difficult. End quote. Basically talked about how his league led the nation in scoring defense for bowl games last season, which is an odd brag and a very
cherry picked.
It's a very small sample size brag.
Sounds about right.
And look, he thinks that basically because of some of their, let's call them missteps in the past, letting teams get away and then basically openly flirting with a number of teams for expansion and then deciding not to.
Right.
He thinks that they are an easy target. That's the way he put it. Quote, I think it's a perception, not a reality. I think we play at an exceedingly high level. I think over the 12 years of the playoff, you'll see Big 12 teams in there. But make no mistake, it's not about making the playoff. It's about winning national championships. That's what we want to do. End quote. Well, yeah.
Sure.
But my question is to Bob Bowlsby, do you feel like you have put your conference in the best position to win national championships? And I just do not think there is a reasonable person who can look at the facts on the ground and answer that question in the affirmative. I think that right now, the Big 12 is the fifth most important Power 5 conference.
Right.
Is there really any doubt? The SEC is very clearly, it's either one or two, depending on what you think of, in my view, the Big 10, right? That's fair. I would say the ACC and the Pac-12 in some order are 3 and 4.
Yeah. I think ACC's got a pretty big lead at this point.
I think thanks to Clemson, Florida State, a few other programs. I don't think there's really any doubt that the Big 12 is fifth. Yeah. That's not me crapping on the Big 12. That's just kind of the reality of the situation. Right. They have not won a national championship since, what, 2005? Did Oklahoma get one in between?
Nope.
No, they didn't.
Nope.
So they have not won a national championship since 2005.
Yep.
They are, and at some point, you start to look at the direction of the conference, and I know that I've beat this into the ground, but I think a lot of the problems that have gone along with, that have plagued the Big 12 are twofold. One, I think that Texas not being as good as they should be for the better part of this decade, right? Yeah. That affects the perception of the conference. That's a big thing. And make no mistake, Oklahoma and Texas are the bell cows.
Sure.
When West Virginia has a great year, that's great, but that's not.
Yep.
It's Texas and Oklahoma's conference.
You need the juggernauts to be juggernauts.
They're the national brands. Okay. There's that. The other thing, for me, is that the Big 12 has always been reactive.
Yeah.
They are going out, and whereas the Big 10 said, hey, we're going to pick up this team and this team and this team. Right. And whereas the Pac-12 comes and says, okay, we want to expand and we want to grab you, Colorado.
Yeah.
And whereas the ACC expands.
Yep.
there's one conference that hasn't. There's one conference that sat on its hands, basically. And I know they brought in TCU and West Virginia. Okay,
they had to.
But that's
They didn't
because
have a
an
choice.
8-team conference isn't feasible.
Yeah.
Okay? That is so for me, I would continue to press the Big 12 and say, when are you going to be proactive about your future?
And I think if that's your biggest concern, and it's mine as well, more of the comments he made just sort of fueled that. My big gripe was his sort of like take on the future of media and broadcasting, in which he essentially said, well, someday the Super Bowl could be broadcast on our eyelids. And anyone who tells you where they know where digital media is headed is crazy. Those aren't the words I want.
Yeah.
Boy, technology these days is nuts. Nobody knows. Well, buddy, I need you to figure it out.
You're right.
Your job is to figure it out.
You're right. Nobody knows. But you know who has to know first? You.
Or you're dead.
And right.
That conference is smoked unless they figure this out before everyone else.
That's exactly right. And it's the kind of thing, it's little things. And I'm not saying that the Big Ten Network is this giant rousing success.
Right.
Okay? But you know what? It's a 24-hour propaganda channel
Right.
for how great the Big Ten is.
Right.
Same thing with the SEC Network. And I'm not saying that the network is the answer, but there has to be some sort of movement.
Right.
You have to stop sitting on your hands.
Right.
Because here's the reality of the situation. Is that right now, if they were to, I think we both think that eventually the future of college football is for like super conferences.
Yeah, the Big 12 is a dead man walking at this point.
Guess who's getting left out?
Yeah.
It's you.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's so difficult for the Big 12 to say, all right, we have to be proactive. We have to firm up our future.
Yep.
And maybe that does mean going out and expanding. Maybe that does mean going out and grabbing SMU in Houston. Maybe that does mean going out and expanding to like 16 teams.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Right.
But at some point, you have to make a move. And you have to quit sitting on your hands. And I know that this is not exactly the hottest take in the entire world, but I'm not entirely certain that Bob Bowlsby is the guy to guide them there.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's about to sign a contract extension through 24-25. So,
probably because Oklahoma and Texas are like, great job, buddy. We are looking forward to 2025.
Right. I mean, let's be real about the situation. Is that as long as Texas and Oklahoma are happy, then nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change. So. There's that. There's an interesting article, I will say, from Chuck Carlton, our friend Chuck Carlton at the Dallas Morning News. He has 3 questions for each of the Big 12 teams heading into Media Day. For Baylor, his 3 questions were, how much progress has Rule made on changing the football culture and putting his imprint on the program since being hired in December? Okay, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what to expect from a Bryles offense, but what will Rule's history is pro style, not power spread. What will Baylor look like? I mean, I don't want to accuse Chuck Carlton of cribbing from our show, but that's basically what we've been asking for since he was hired.
Yeah.
We don't know what but it's to me that's the question for on-field stuff for Baylor is what does the offense look like? And 3, with 2 potential starting offensive linemen giving up football and playmaking receiver Katie Cannon and Ish Zamora opting to leave school early for the NFL, neither was drafted. How will the new scheme gel? And yeah, I mean, look, that's first of all, what is the scheme, and secondly, how does the personnel fit into it? For TCU, will the Horned Frogs bounce back after a losing season? That's fine, as they previously have. Will new play caller Sonny Cumbie find the right combination to help Kenny Hill recapture his form from his A&M debut against South Carolina? That's a big question, too, is that I feel like not a lot of people are talking about the fact that it's Sonny Cumbie's show now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the guy there at TCU running that offense. It's going to be interesting. And then how solid will a kicking game be after critical misses and 3 losses a season ago? It's interesting. Maybe not the third question I'd ask, but
yeah.
And for Texas, so far, Herman has had a knack for being bluntly honest and setting the narrative. What will his message be at Big 12 Media Days? Sure. Is Herman ready to anoint Shane Buechele, coming off a strong spring as well as a nice showing at the Manning Passing Academy as his starting quarterback? Well, yeah, we all want to know that. I get the feeling, and Tom Herman speaks tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's not going to come out and say Shane Buechele's our starter.
Right.
That's just not. That said, I think Shane Buechele's his starter.
Yeah, I think we all feel pretty good about that.
Well, and finally, will Malik Jefferson or Brecken Hager or Malcolm Roach or P.J. Locke or fill in the blank emerge as the defensive alpha male that defensive coordinator Todd Orlando wants? That is very critical as well. They have a lot of guys that we think are really talented. He listed a number of them there. I'd add in a guy like Holton Hill. There's a few other guys that I'm really high on. I would say though, what does who's going to be the leader? Who's going to be that? That it's great if you've got a lot of talent, but unless you've got some guy saying this is my unit,
right?
Then where really are you? And finally, with Tech, Cliff Kingsbury just spoke. This is from Chuck Carlton of the Dallas Morning News. Where does Cliff Kingsbury rank in the hot seat rankings?
Oh,
it's getting hot. He's probably he mentions he may not match Kevin Sumlin, but he's not far behind. I think that's exactly right. In year 3 under David Gibbs, can the defense hold opponents under 41 points and 513 games for the season? Something that hasn't happened since 2014. I mean, look, the defense is the question. And finally, even if new quarterback Nick Shimonek is as good as advertised, how will Tech improve from 5-7 with the departure of Pat Mahomes? And look, there's
defense.
A lot of questions. Yeah, the defense.
I think the offense is still going to score the points.
Yeah, I think they're going to. One thing that I thought was interesting with Cliff Kingsbury, he was asked, do you think a team will score 100 points in a game? And he said, I don't think a coach is going to take it there. And Spencer Hall of Every Day Should Be Saturday said, Tech's going to lose a game 120-114 to Arizona State, which would be very on brand.